Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Rath's Learning Curve this week for FanDuel's Week 1 College Fantasy Football strategy tips, lineup construction for the Thursday slate, which is going to be tomorrow night. We're filming this on Wednesday. Had a lot of late breaking news this week. A lot of things changed, so we're going to roll with what we know right now. This is a different video than what you've seen in the industry. I'm going to tell you that right now. This is not a picks video. It's not what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is I am going to show you the guys that I like, but I'm going to show them in a way where you can build a lineup. A lot of times, unfortunately, what happens is people give out picks and they give you a bunch of different guys and they don't necessarily show you how to build a lineup with it. So that's what we're going to do moving forward with my videos when we talk about weekly picks and things like that. It's going to have a element of lineup construction in the video. I'm going to do a screen share. I'm going to give you tournament lineups, and I'm going to give you a cash game lineup and kind of explain the construction behind it, what goes into it, how much you want to spend at what position, and the types of players and the profiles that we're looking at. Hopefully it's going to allow you to make your own lineups when we get – now, the key is we give you the player recommendations, and you use the strategy and the tools that we give you and how to build the lineups that you can make your own successful winning lineups. And we do that in a fraction of the time that you normally would if you're going to another site where you're having to watch 3 hours worth of videos or read 10 different articles. We're going to do this as quick as we can and give you the best bang for your buck as possible. So let's get into it right now. FanDuel Week 1 Thursday Night College Fantasy Football. And we're going to start off with a GPP lineup or a tournament lineup. Now, here's the thing about FanDuel. Their salaries this week are very tight for the Thursday slate. There is one very obvious salary issue and that we can take advantage of, and that's Thomas Zerk, quarterback of Tulane, at only $5,100. So he's only 11% of your cap. Now, you're going to do this in a tournament. It's a very high-risk, high-reward play. What this is going to allow you to do is spend up at other positions. Now, in this case, what I've done is I've taken my top running back on the board this week from a price standpoint is Nick Wilson, Arizona, against UTSA. They're huge favorites in this game, and a good game could be a blowout. So he represents 22% of your cap. Now, in order to offset this, what I do is I take a high-risk value play in a game where I'm going with Elijah Hood because he has been named the starter. This game looks like it's going to be a close, high-scoring game. He is only 4,900. Now, there's a good chance he's going to split carries, but at 4,900, I'm willing to take a shot. Again, I'm going high-risk, high-reward type of situation. So if Hood, can get me 60 yards and a touchdown or anything close to that, get me some catches, I'm looking good. We're spending about 33% on our running backs with this lineup. This is a GPP play in terms of I'm going with the number one wide receiver, and that's Pharaoh Cooper. He's priced at 9,100. He's not cheap. He's 20% of the cap. Here's why we're going with Cooper. Is this South Carolina North Carolina game looks like it's going to be maybe in the high 20s, low 30s, and it's going to be a relatively close game back and forth. Pharaoh Cooper is no doubt the best player on South Carolina coming back. They have a new quarterback. They have new running backs. He's the only guy on this offense that the new quarterback can trust. And they've got some injuries at wide receiver and potentially at tight end. The tight end's not 100%. I think that Pharaoh Cooper could potentially have a ridiculous game. He put up a 50-plus point game last year on FanDuel. He's got that kind of upside. I don't know if that's going to necessarily happen tomorrow night, but I'm looking at the guy with who's the wide receiver that I think has the highest ceiling, and who's the running back that I think has the highest ceiling. Who are guys that potentially could blow up for 30 points on FanDuel, and those are the two guys. I'm looking at Colby Listenby, TCU. Josh Jackson is not 100%, and Deontay Gray is out. So it looks like Listenby could get more targets, and he's priced at 5,900. And also my guy Desmond Epps at Idaho that we mentioned earlier in the week. You're probably going to see Desmond Epps in almost every single lineup. He's a number one wide receiver on Idaho. They have a pretty good passing attack, and there's a good chance Ohio gets a lead. and Idaho is going to have to throw. You'll see here we're going to spend about 46% on our wide receivers. And then I'm going to go with Tyler Higbee. Again, I'm going with an upside tight end in a very high projected high scoring game, close game. And the thing about Higbee that I like is he gets a bump if Jared Dangerfield doesn't play, which it looks like he's not going to play. And so that's why Higbee gets the bump. He's in a really nice spot. Again, these are all upside plays, ceiling plays, playing with that cheap quarterback. That's how I would roll a tournament lineup with Thomas Sirk. Now, I'm not saying to take this exact lineup because you could very easily swap out Cooper for Caleb Jones. You could very easily swap out one of these other wide receivers, somebody from Western Kentucky. You could swap out Nick Wilson for A.J. Ouellette and go with a little bit better running back. I'm just saying that if I'm building a lineup with Sirk as my quarterback, I'm basically going all in on Wilson and Cooper. That's how I would play it. Let's go back down here. Let's talk about another tournament lineup strategy. In this case, we're going to look for who we think is the best quarterback wide receiver combo that we can go with. Again, I said I like Pharoh Cooper as the absolute #1 guy in terms of upside. So I'm going to pair him with his quarterback, Connor Mitch, who's not a great guy, and he is new, but he's only 7,300. So what that's going to allow me to do is roll with the same group of wide receivers, which is Pharoh Cooper, Listen B, and Epps. I'm going to go Steven Shue. I'm going to spend up a little bit more at the tight end position here. Again, he's Vanderbilt's #1 option on offense, and it's a very high-scoring projected close game. I'm going to want a piece of that. And on the running back side, we're going to go a little bit different. We're going to spend less money on our running backs in this situation. We're going to go Elijah Penny at Idaho, who's their #1 running back. He's only 6,500. He's a great value. Again, I think Idaho has potential to score some points. They could be down. Penny's going to get a lot of the workload. And again, Elijah Hood is kind of the value running back that I look at that has some really interesting upside in a tournament. Now let's go down here. Let's say you want to stack a game, okay? So if I'm going to stack a game, it's probably going to be, or a team, I'm looking at Arizona or I'm looking at Oklahoma State. In this scenario, we're going to go with Arizona, and we're going to go with Anu Solomon at quarterback at 9,900, and we're going to go with Caleb Jones and Samaje Grant as the Arizona wide receivers. If we feel that Arizona is going to put up 40 to 50 points in this game, I'm going to want a piece of the passing game, and I'm going to want to double stack on the wide receiver. So that's how I'd play it. Again, same running backs as I did earlier with Elijah Penny and Elijah Hood. Interesting here, same name, different spelling. But then I'm also going with that Western Kentucky Vanderbilt game. I'm going with Antoine Grant at 5,200. Again, with the Dangerfield injury, I do want a piece of this passing game, and I think that Grant is the guy here at that particular price point that I'm going to get some upside with for a tournament. And then going with Jonnu Smith, who's the #1 tight end in college fantasy football. Now, here's the thing about Jonnu Smith. I don't love the matchup. This is strictly an upside tournament play. I don't know if FIU is going to really put up a lot of points here. I'm not in love with this matchup, but he presents such huge upside potential. This is a guy who had 30-point games at the tight end position last year. So, again, we're looking at the max potential that this guy has. This is a very high-risk tournament strategy. Again, you can go with Arizona. I think you can go with Oklahoma State, and you can go with Rudolph at quarterback. You can go with Shepard, and then you can go with Washington. I think if you feel that those teams are going to put up 30 or 40 points, then that's the way that you want to go. If you go with Oklahoma State, you can get a little bit more value at the running back position, get some more guys in there because the quarterback's cheaper and the wide receivers are a little bit cheaper as well. So you can get some better players in there. But again, I think the Arizona game is really where you want to look at in terms of, that monster upside play in a tournament or a qualifier. Again, you're looking to win it all, or you're looking to, go bust. And that's a huge upside play there. Going back to it, let's talk about a cash game lineup. You'll see some of the same players, a little bit, some of the different ones. Now, here's the thing. You notice that I didn't talk about Trevon Boykin and Brandon Doty. I'm actually not on either one of those guys this week. I don't like paying full price on a guy week one in case of Boykin, who is by far the he's number one quarterback in college fantasy football, but he goes on the road against a team that is going to try to ground it out and did kind of hold them in check last year. So I don't like paying full price on Boykin. And also with Doty, I'm not quite sure that game is going to be in the mid 27-24. And if he doesn't get 300 yards passing or 350 yards passing and 4 touchdowns, then he doesn't run. So that kind of limits his upside. So again, I'm actually not going to have either one of those quarterbacks on most teams. The guy that I'm looking at that I really love is Marquise Wilson because of the ability for the throw and the run. And also for him coming back, he's got the majority of his offense is back. This is a very bad South Carolina team. And at 10-1, I think the upside on Wilson is huge. Now, you can play him in a tournament, but I think just in a cash game, I'm looking at who's the best quarterback on the board. I'm going to spend 22.4% of my cap on my quarterback, and Williams is a guy that I'm rolling with. You'll notice here we have a different running back. We have A.J. Olette from Ohio. He's my number one running back from a value perspective. Nick Wilson's got his higher ceiling, but I think Olette, as far as the floor goes, has the best. He's about 20%. And then we come back with Elijah Penny, who you've seen in other lineups as well. Now, notice here we're going to spend 34% at the running back position, where we spend less in the GPPs. We're in the 33 and the 25. So, again, we're shifting the majority of our money in a cash game over to the running back position, which is more constant. We want guys who are going to get 20-plus carries. Now, on the wide receiver side, you'll notice I got 5,200, 5,200, 5,900. We're spending less at the wide receiver position. We're spending 36% at the wide receiver position, and we're going with Desmond Epps, who I think you have to play in every single lineup because of his price. Again, I come back with Antoine Grant of Western Kentucky because I love the value. And then a floor guy who I like is Jesse Kroll, the number one wide receiver for Central Michigan at 5,200. I'm looking at getting I want some receptions, I want targets. And then at 5,200, that's the direction I'm going to go. And then we're going to go with Jarrell Powell of South Carolina at 2,700. It looks like he's going to go. If he doesn't go, we can pivot possibly to David Morgan from UTSA. But again, I'm looking at punting the tight end position in cash games. I want to spend up at quarterback, and I want to spend up at the running back position. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for our teaching lesson on how to build lineups for cash games and tournaments for Week 1 FanDuel for College Fantasy Football Thursday. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it makes sense. Again, it's not our job here to feed you lineups or feed you picks or projections. What we're trying to do in these videos and these articles is show you who the players are that we like and why, and how you build the lineup to use those picks as well. So hopefully you enjoy it. Stay tuned. We're going to have more lineup construction strategy videos coming up for DraftKings, Fantasy Feud, and also Fantasy Aces. Take care.